Welcome to West Virginia Uncommonplace. This is a retraction episode. We had a little bit of quality issues, so I'm glad to have Karlie Belle back so that we can talk to her again. And once again, I do apologize about the previous episode. It didn't turn out too well. I'm going to blame that on Anchor and not on myself. So, Karlie Belle, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. So, you have a book called
Yes.
Sally the Shoe. And
Yes, I do. I'm excited about
Okay,
it.
and you hail from West Virginia, just like myself. Tell us about the area you're from.
Well, I am from Madison in Boone County, and I was born in Charleston, West Virginia, and but I've lived in Boone County up until I was 18 when I went to college. I left there and went to college, and but yeah, so I'm a Boone County girl, and then I went to school at I went one year of college at Alice Lloyd College, Kentucky, at my freshman year, and then I transferred to the University of Charleston, down here in Charleston, West Virginia, and I was there for undergraduate school, and then I went to grad school there, and then I worked there, and so I was at UC for a long time. And I said people thought I guess was never really graduated. They were like, bless her heart, she's been here for 10 years. And I'm like, I work here now. Like I think people thought I was never going to graduate because I was at UC for so long. But anyway, yeah, I went to school there, and now I live in South Charleston, and I work down in Boone County,
Okay,
at Boone Memorial Hospital down there in Madison.
okay, and you work in PR down there, correct?
Yep, I do the PR and marketing and event planning and
Okay, so
just all kinds of fundraising and stuff like that.
okay, so here's my first question because we'll make it organic like I do with anybody. But the first one is the one that starts everything off. What inspired you to start writing?
Well, that's kind of the thing is, I've been writing since I was little. I mean, since I was really young, and I was at my farm. We have a farm out in Julian here in Boone County, and I was going through some old boxes, and I found some journals and some of my schoolwork, and it was so 7, 8 years old or so, and I had written poems, and it's funny because most of them rhymed back then, and pretty much all of my children's books that I write as of now rhyme. It's really my favorite thing is to write rhyming, books and rhythm and stuff. So anyway, I found those things at my farm, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I've been writing for years. I mean, everything from songs to poetry to books, but really my passion's always been writing children's books. And then my mom, she's written a bunch of songs, and she's really, really talented. And she wrote all kinds of songs. She kind of put that on hold to raise all of us, but I
Oh,
swear they're so good. So she's been a real inspiration for me.
and was there anybody else that was kind of like a guiding light in your life also that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like, over the years I felt like I was meant to write, but I didn't feel like it was my timing. I think it was more God's timing, and I think he's really guided me along the way. I think a lot of times we give up because it doesn't work in our time frame. And had I done that, I wouldn't be where I am now. I tried to do this 10, 15 years ago, and it was hard to navigate, like, which publishers were legitimate, which illustrators were legit. You had to put a lot of your own money in years ago when I was looking into this. So I feel like God's kind of led me along the path that I need to be on today, and realize that things don't always happen in our time, and just to have faith that if it's meant to be, it'll work out. And I feel like now is my time, and this is when I'm supposed to be writing. And so, yeah, he's guided me along the way, since I was young.
Now let's take a quick moment for a word from our sponsor.
Time, but I hadn't put anything out like publicly in a really long time. And so I just decided to go ahead and put some stuff on Facebook, and I had written just a couple different books, and I put it out. And this guy, his name's Tracy Adkins, we went to high school together, and he sent me a message, and he said, "Karlie Belle," he said, "your work's really good." He said, "This is what I do for a living now." And so I could not believe it. I said, "You actually help books get published?" He said, "That's exactly what I do." He said, "I'm going to help you out." He said, "We've been friends since high school." He said, "God has blessed me. Now I want to pay it forward and bless somebody else who I feel deserves it." And he said, "You've always been a good person." And he goes, "I want to help you." And that's really another reason why I think it's a God thing, because without Tracy, I wouldn't be where I'm at right now. And he just happened. I mean, I have a lot of friends on Facebook. And so the fact that he even saw it, I mean, I didn't even know we were friends at that moment, because I'm thinking, oh gosh, I haven't seen his stuff in forever, And so I just was totally blown away that he even saw it, first of all. And then when he messaged me and told me he could help navigate the process and figure out how to get illustrators and how to get it on Amazon and all those types of things. And so from there, I just, doors just started opening, and the process became a little bit easier to navigate with Tracy's help. And so I once he said that he could help me, I've already written so many. I have about 10 or 15 ready to go now, but you have
Oh,
to,
wow.
yeah, and I can write, I mean, and I don't mean it to sound arrogant in any way, but I can write them very quickly, but the turnaround process to then get them illustrated is really lengthy, depending on how quickly your illustrator works, and depending on how many other projects he or she has already. Yeah, it can be a lengthy process. And it took Sally the Shoe, which is my current book, it took up my illustrator a little bit longer than what I had anticipated. So I'm much faster than that. But you have to have the funds to put into the illustrations initially. And I did a crowdfunding thing on Indiegogo, and I was able to raise enough money selling my first edition copies, pre-orders, and I made enough money there to cover all of the illustrations and some of the marketing and the printing of the book. So I'm very thankful for that. So I've sold almost 500, and those are like the first edition copies, and they're limited. So I only have 500, but they're signed first edition copies. And but yeah, that's how I was able to raise the money to do my first book initially, was by selling the first edition copies that are a little bit more than, like, the ones on Amazon will be $14.99, and then the first edition copies that I'm selling now are $25 a piece.
So if someone wants to get a first edition copy, how do they get that? Where do they go to get that first edition copy if you still have them available?
Well, just go to my website. Everything's connected on there. It's just karliebellebooks.com. It's KarlieBelle books.com. So you can go there, and there's a link to the first edition copies. And then once they're on Amazon, I'll have a link to those, and they'll be, like I said, $14.99. So they're a little less expensive, rather than the $25 first editions. But
so since you have the process of publishing this book and adding illustrators to it, how do you plan on continue doing this?
And so my goal is to have 2 going at one time, and then my Sally the Shoe illustrator, once I make a little bit more money on it, then he will start the second edition of Sally the Shoe, because it's a series. So this first one is, it's going to be a whole series of books. So
now, when you say a series, how many books are we talking?
I have no idea. I guess however many my mind thinks until they start getting boring. It's kind of like a series, like The Walking Dead is like my favorite show right now. I mean, after so long, you can only do so much with 13 episodes. So I guess once my episodes start getting boring and I can't think of anything else to write, then the series will stop. But I don't know. I would say at least 5, because my first one, is Sally the Shoe, Helpful Souls, and it's SOLES, Helpful Souls, and so it's all about shoes, and helping others and community service and pulling the community together. And so each of those books is going to like teach a lesson. And so all of those will basically have some type of life lesson in it. But the next one's going to be maybe soulmates, like SOLE mates, like I don't know, two shoes getting together that you wouldn't normally think would fit. So I think you can do a lot with shoes. Like I'm a big shoe fan. And so it is so much fun to go on Google and search for different shoes because like I said, I'm a shoe lover. And so to take a cute shoe and send it to my illustrator and say, oh, make this little shoe into a character. Like, I have little boots and I have big tall leopard shoes. And then I've got little tennis shoes and work shoes and loafers and flip flops. And they're really cute little characters. And my illustrator is amazing. I mean, he really is good. He's from Peru. And I'm getting my illustrators through a program called Fiverr. It's Fiverr, and it's an app on your phone, or you can go, of course, on Fiverr.com. But you basically can find all kinds of different things on there. You can find writers, illustrators, you can find editors, you can find people who actually help edit and compose music. There's just basically just a bunch of super creative entrepreneurs who can be contracted to do various projects. So I found Percy, his name's Percy, through Fiverr, and it's just been a great experience. But it's the funniest thing because he and I have been talking back and forth for a few months now. Right. And well, actually longer than that now, but when we had been talking for just a few minutes, he wrote back to me one day, and he wrote back in Spanish, and I thought, what in the world did he do that for? So I said, Percy, I don't speak Spanish. I don't know. I said, why did you send me that? And he said, oh, I forgot to use my translator program. I'm sorry. And so then it hit me, and I said, you don't know English? And he said, no, I don't know any English. So I was cracking up because I'm thinking, here I've got this Boone County, West Virginia twang. Right. And I'm like, he has understood. I'm so impressed with this guy. He's understood all of my y'alls and yeehaws and everything. And I'm like, he actually, he did not mess up on anything. He was just, it was pretty amazing that you can actually do an entire book through really just messages. We have never spoken on the phone, which Lord, if we did, we wouldn't know what each other was saying anyway.
That's wild. So you were able to, you were able to have international help without, like you said, without not ever speaking a lick of English. Or and go ahead.
I said, yeah, and I thought that was pretty cool that, neither one of us could really communicate if we were sitting in front of each other, but yet we've written an entire book together.
And that's crazy. And the thing is like I said, with his illustration we spoke about earlier, my son and my girlfriend Stacy, even she looked at it. She actually wants me to get a copy of your book from you.
Cool.
Because she has a niece that will be born very soon. She's really excited about it. My son is really excited about it. And we talked earlier about where he's autistic. The way that you have the language, the way that the artwork is done, it's sensory. And, when you're doing books and stuff like that, you really probably don't actually take that into consideration when you're writing. You're like, I'm writing it, I want to make it look a certain way, and I hope it reaches some people, but you never know that it reaches a lot of people full circle. So you have to be proud of that. Knowing, with him being 12 years old, looking at a book like that, that's probably aimed for anyone from 3 to, what would you say, 9?
Yeah, I would say 3 to 8, 3 to 9, something like that.
Yeah, so if with you being able to reach a broader range like that, your book will go everywhere in the world. So one thing I like to do on the show, I ask everybody a question, and this question is, what's something about you or something or talent that nobody knows?
A talent. See, oh my gosh, that's a tough question. It's like when you ask what your talents are, period, I'm like, I don't know. But let's see. I don't know if most of my friends know. I'm an open book, so I tell about everything. So I don't know if anybody would hear this and say, oh, I already knew that. But a lot of people don't know that. I know this is super goofy, but I really love to watch all of these like paranormal shows about ghosts and haunted houses. And like right now, no joke, in the background while we're doing this, I have on Osborne's Believe. Like,
Oh wow.
yeah. So it's about ghost stories and whether the Osbornes believe in. It's really a funny show. But I watch like all those paranormal shows, which is kind of funny. My friends make fun of me. But anyway, yeah, I called my friends the other day. I watched Paranormal caught on camera, and I posted on my Facebook the other day. I said, listen, I was like, 100% there's a Bigfoot. I was like, I know for a fact. I was like, there are definitely UFOs. And they were like, Karlie, you've lost your ever living mind. I said, well, you watch Paranormal Caught on Camera on the History Channel or Travel Channel. I said, and you would change your mind. So I've gotten all into that, which is kind of funny. Everyone knows that I'm a huge cheese fry. Like I'm totally addicted to cheese fries and Coca-Cola. That I even wrote that in my bio of my children's book. And let's see, another thing is a lot of people don't know that one day I would like to chase a tornado.
Like,
So I really wouldn't want it.
Like, do you want to be Helen Hunt or do you want to be Bill Paxton and Twister? Which one do you want to be in that one?
I think I want to be Helen Hunt.
Okay. All right, I got you on that one. So, getting into this book real fast. This book, Sally. What is Sally going along in this book doing? You know, not to tell too much about the book, but what is Sally out here in the world doing in this first book?
So, Sally she has a big heart, and it's actually written in dedication to my mom, Sally. And so in the book, she and her friends, they're in grade school, elementary school, and they are just doing things that normal kids do, jumping rope and playing and going to the park and all these things. And they run into Shu, who he basically doesn't have a home. And so Sally decides that she wants to pull the community together and help out Harry, who is a homeless Shu. And so she basically puts everything into motion and grabs, get the community together, and they basically give Harry the gift of a lifetime. And it's I think it has a good lesson behind it. And it's basically the story to show that you shouldn't judge others because you haven't walked in their shoes. So that's kind of the whole shoe concept, and that one person like Sally can make a difference.
Okay.
So, yeah, and then there's diverse shoe characters. Just that so many diverse shoe characters came together, and so it's I think it has good meaning. And like I said, going forward, I think the shoes could be used in so many different ways to teach so many lessons. So I'm excited to see where we go with the next one. But yeah, so and the colors are really vibrant, like you said, they're real vibrant, and the illustrator just did such a good job, and I'm real excited to see it out on Amazon within the next couple of weeks. That's going to be exciting.
I know that's going to be very fun. So now dealing with writing and doing things like this, just like when I do podcasts, like I said, the little episode we had with your first episode, it sounded good in my ears, went some other way, then it got published and it was really bad. How do you handle like criticism? How do you handle that? Like, you're writing a book, so you've got to send it to someone to actually read it, and you've got to get honest opinions. You can't just get an opinion from your friend. Like, just like when I do these podcasts, like, we went back and forth. You heard it, I heard it, and then it wasn't what it was supposed to be, so we just removed it. And it wasn't no hard feelings or anything. We just knew we were going to take care of it later. But with a book, that's something that's finalized. You're going to have to take the opinion on to the next book. So how do you deal with that?
Well, honestly, I again think it's the timing. So probably 10 years ago, I don't know if I would have handled the criticism quite as well as I will now, because, I was a little bit younger, and I think things really probably affected me a little bit more. And, I am kind of a person who wears my heart on my sleeves, and you're probably like I am. I mean, I take every single compliment, criticism, suggestion, I take it all to heart. And because, this is my passion, my love. So if you get a positive review, you're excited. If you get a negative review, I think it even affects you, more because you obviously want everyone to like your book. But here's what I realized. As I've gotten older, I realized that everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like your book. Everybody's not going to like your style. They're not going to understand your passion. And you know what? That's okay. So I have realized that it's okay if you don't like it. It's okay that if you have a different opinion, because there's thousands of other people in this world that will like it. But with that said, if someone gives me criticism, if they do it in a very what's the word?
Constructive?
Yes, if they do it constructively and I feel like they're genuinely trying to help me and it's not just their opinion, then I absolutely think there's merit in their suggestions. So I do take those to heart and I really do write down those suggestions. I've changed a lot of my books because of that. Because I do ask people who aren't my friends. I've learned to do that. Like you said, I think I'm getting so much support because so many people are just wonderful friends and family. But I've asked, reviewers out in the world and people from different countries recently, and 90% have been, well, I'd say 95% so far have been very positive. But there were a couple who were not positive. And so at first it was very, it was discouraging because I thought, gosh, this is my first book. Maybe I'm on the wrong path. Maybe, and you do start questioning: should I go forward? Should I keep going? I mean, they don't like it, and I'm thinking that was 2 reviews out of hundreds, that you're going to get, and several that you've already gotten, and so you can't allow negativity to bring you down. You've got to keep going. You got to keep pushing because like I think it was you and I were talking one day about oh gosh, Harry Potter, right? Were you not talking about that they'd received so many no's?
Yes, we did talk about that before it
Yeah.
officially got published. Yes, we did. We did talk about that. And the one thing that I do want to step back in on that you said, and it's something that I followed that we talked about in the previous podcast, was if you're going to give me criticism, it better have merit to it.
Right.
Because I can be objective, subjective to anything. But like you said, with criticism, if it has something factual based to it, or if it's an opinion that's outside of my demographic, it's definitely something I look into. Like how I actually do these podcasts, for instance, like with your book, you're West Virginia native. My show's West Virginia Uncommonplace, or I do push the envelope with things from West Virginia. Later on down the road, I'll have the farmers market on here, and things like that. So I like that you're taking the criticism, you're working with it. The criticism that doesn't matter, you're kind of just doing it like a ponytail and putting it behind you. That's a good attribute to get because, like you said, even at my age, it took me, I'm 35, people. So it took me into my early 20s to get that. As a child, I didn't have that, or as a teenager. But like you said, you've got that now. Now, next thing, let's talk about the social media. You have a lot of things going on. You are on Instagram, and I've noticed you're throwing up things on IGTV, correct?
Yeah, I've done a couple things. I haven't started, real big into Instagram and Facebook yet. As far as my books go, I have a personal page that I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff on, but I am starting to do that. I wanted really to have the books in hand and on Amazon before I started doing too much, but I have done just enough to kind of, I think, gauge people's interest and kind of entice people and get people excited about the books coming up. But I will be doing a lot more on there, and I even have this thing coming up called Woof Woof Reviews, and I have 9 dogs. And yes, I did say nine dogs.
$9. Wow.
So that's another long story. Yeah, it wasn't on the bucket list to have 9 dogs, but anyway, I love dogs, and I ended up with 9. I rescued one, and then she got pregnant, and then she had 5, and then I named them after all my dead family members. So I was like, well, after I did that, I can't get rid of them now. You know what I mean? Like after you name them after your dad, your uncle, and your papa, and your aunt. So it's like, well, I guess I'm keeping 5 extra dogs. I already had 3 and then I rescued the one. So anyway, I have 9. I couldn't get rid of them. I fell in love with them. And so I'm going to do woof woof reviews where each of my dogs will review the books. And then I'm even thinking about reviewing other people's books, like helping other authors out, just like myself. I know how hard it can be to get your books out there. There's millions of books. And so I think if I can find some creative ways to do that, and one will be the woof woof reviews. And then I'm thinking about, you've kind of inspired me to maybe look into doing a podcast. And then I also want to do some things where I invite kids to send in their ideas. They can send in book ideas, character ideas. Like in my Sally the Shoe, in the back of the book, there's an area where the kids can actually draw their own shoe character and name their own shoe character. And then in the next book of the Sally the Shoe series, I'll list all those kids' names, and then I'll refer to whichever page or whichever character those kids created in the book. And so I'll give kids shout outs and different things throughout the book. So I really like getting ideas from people. So I'm so open to, parents getting with their children or getting with their classrooms and saying, hey, let's send this new author some ideas for books. And you never know, I may very well end up using those and listing your name in the back of the book. So
Okay, so you got a little bit going on there. Now, do you have anything going on, like a book tour or anything else that the world should know about before this book comes out, or a little bit afterwards? Are you doing a little sign-in tour somewhere? Are you going to set up at any place locally and sign books or anything like
yes,
that?
I'm working on that now. We're actually working on a schedule to go around, starting out just here in West Virginia, but taking several of the books to various bookstores. I guess mostly privately owned, because it's a whole process to try to get into to Books a Million and places like that. But I'm definitely looking into that type of thing later on.
Okay.
But yeah. So we're looking to go out, and that would be my friend Tracy and I would go out together. We call him the book shepherd, the one that's helped me get all this finalized. But that's coming up. And then I will have some book signings, but with the COVID pandemic, we're not sure when I'll do that so I'll do a lot of virtual stuff. I'll be reading parts of the book online. And then all of the first edition copies are signed. So if you order a first edition copy, they come directly to me. They'll be here in about 2 weeks. And then I'll sign all of those, and I'll actually be personally mailing the 500 first editions. And then the ones on Amazon, of course, Amazon sends those, and they are not signed. But if you get one of those and then I do a book signing, of course, I would come out and sign it. But again, with COVID, we don't have anything set right now. But just, keep an eye on my website, which is the carliebellebooks.com. And I'll keep everything. I have an events page, and I'll keep all the media and all of that coming events there. So you'll know what's going on. So
Okay, so you've got this pretty much mapped out. So on to our last thing. If you could help me out, and I get this from everybody that's an artist, and being a writer makes you an artist. How would you tell someone to get started in this? Like, how would you tell someone to get started in the second part to this question, because I wanted to be a tag along. How would you tell them not to be discouraged? Because like you said, you took kind of a 10-year break, right? And then you got into it again.
Yeah. Well, let's start with how you get started, I guess. I wish I had, I've been asked by a lot of people already, and I really wish I had a clear-cut list of check boxes to tell you how to get started. I may do that later. Actually, Tracy, the book shepherd guy, he was like, you should totally write a book about how to do a successful Indiegogo fundraiser and how to get started. But to be honest, of course, you have to have the vision and the passion. And I think for me, it was always, I have so many interests, and my mind is just all over the place. I think it's my ADHD. I'm all over I have all these ideas and very creative. So my mind was all over the place. And it was like, which idea do I want to do? What out of all these ideas I have, what is the one I want to tackle? I still was having trouble over the years narrowing that down because I was interested in so many things. And I think it just kept coming back over and over and over again. I kept going back to writing. I kept going back to reading children's books online and said, oh, that's a cute, I don't even have children and I'm reading books in the bookstore. They're probably like, what is this woman doing? But anyway, so I love reading children's books and I love writing stories. So it just kept coming back and back and back. And so I knew that was what God was calling me to do. So I really feel like it's my calling to write. And I did put it on hold a while. And although I'm a little disappointed in myself for doing that, I do feel like that was how it was supposed to work out. So if you have a calling or you feel like you're supposed to be doing something, I'm not telling you to get out and quit your job tomorrow, because obviously I still have a job as a PR and marketing director at a hospital, in Boone Memorial, which I love. But if you keep feeling that passion, keep with it. Do not stop. And if something happens and you have to take a break because maybe you have children or maybe you have some type of health issue or maybe you don't have time, whatever your reason is, you can come back to it. Don't ever think you're too old. Don't ever think your time has passed. Have the motivation, desire, and that is your first step to make sure you have to have the passion, the drive, and the ability to be able to look past a lot of the criticisms, because that probably would have been my hold up 10 years ago. As soon as a few people told me it was horrible or they didn't like, I would have been discouraged. That would have bothered me. Now it doesn't bother me as much. And I take those, I thank people for them, even if they're super negative. The two that I got that were negative, I thanked them. I said, I appreciate you. And I'll take, all criticism has some form of merit, and I'll take it and use it for my next book. Appreciate you. So that's pretty much what I did. And I just moved on. But so and then if you want to write a book, there's so much online with how to write a book, but you want to make sure that you get the perfect illustrator. And I would recommend going on Fiverr.com, because the illustrations mean so much to your story. A good story is just a story without good illustrations, and good illustrations are just good illustrations without a good story. So you really need both. So I would recommend going on Fiverr and looking. And then as far as the rest of the process, that would be kind of something that would take a while to go into, but I could do that later. Maybe I will do that on my book, some step-by-step guides on how to do that and how to get your book going. Because it's a little bit of a process, but it's definitely doable. I self-published. And so as of right now, I don't have like a big publisher. And that can come later. But as of right now, I want to self-publish initially. And then if something opens up later, then I would consider using an actual publisher. But
Okay, that's commendable on that part with the publishing. But one thing that you did say, doing these steps to help authors, you could turn that into a YouTube series.
Yeah, maybe I could. I would probably have to get Tracy on there with me, because I wish I could say I know what I'm doing, but like I'm still learning something new every day. And without the help from Tracy, it is very hard still to navigate, like, which publishers should you go with, and how do you get it on Amazon, and how do you make sure that the size dimensions you're sending your illustrator are going to be the exact same size dimension needed for your printing company. Like, it's just all kind of, I've seen horror stories where people like, I did an entire book and the sizing was completely wrong and we weren't able to use it. And it was just like a horrible, I was like, oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen. So luckily Tracy knew, how to communicate with the illustrators. And I will say on Fiverr.com, most of the illustrators there have done complete books. And so I really like using them, because if I say I want my book to be an 8x10, they pretty much know the dimensions and the resolution, DPI, all that stuff that it needs to be. They know which formats to send it in, and all that stuff. So they're pretty skilled in that already. But it is a process. I think that'd be a good idea though, to do something on YouTube with Tracy to teach people, because I keep getting asked, and it's really hard for me to teach somebody because I'm still in the learning phase myself, you know.
Okay.
So
Okay. So it sounds like to me that you and Tracy need to get together, put together a 10 web series set as a tutorial to help guide people in writing books. Sounds like it would be a win-win situation for both of you.
I
And
love that.
and Karlie Belle, once again, I would love to thank you so much for coming back onto West Virginia Commonplace after we had that error. In the near future, maybe in a month or so, if you were free, you'll have to let me know about your schedule. We would like to have you back on to know about yourselves, know about how the first month's gone once that book's out. What's it like to have that book finally completely out on all formats?
I would love to. That would be awesome, and I hope I have a lot of sales.
Okay, and we hope you do too. West Virginia Uncommonplace would like to thank you once again, and we're going to sign off, okay?
All right. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.